Hey everyone, this is Srinivas here, and you are watching Tricks and Codes. In the last video, we have seen what is ORM and how can we connect to the database using ORM, and also we have created the table and fetch the data from the database, and we have added the data to the database. But let's say I want to get only a single task from the database. Like let's say when I type \task/2, I actually need to get the second task from the database. So how can I get that? We will try to see it now. So open application and let's go to controller class, and here I am creating a new method, public to do task, as I was trying to get on a single task, and I am naming the method name as get task by id, and I am passing the parameter int id, and then return to do service dot get task by id. So we will create this get task by id in the service class later, but now let's just go and let's add the get mapping annotation on top of this method, the get mapping, and I am passing the url here as slash task and id. So yeah, when I say id, I basically mean that I want to retrieve the data of second task, right? So let's say 2 here. So with this, we can able to get the data which we are looking for by passing this URL in the get mapping annotation. But let's say we have actually 10 tasks in the database. So for each and every task, do we need to create a single URL like this? Is it really necessary? Then what if we have hundreds and thousands of data in the database? Are we really creating the every method individually? No, right. This will actually heading us to rewrite the code every single time, right? So how can we handle this issue? Like we need to actually send the ID from the URL, and that needs to be actually captured here. And I need to send this ID to this method, and so that the next method will know that which ID I am passing, and from that it will fetch the data from the database using that ID. So for that we actually need to pass @path variable in the get task by id method, and followed by data type int, and we need to pass the variable id. So with this annotation path variable, we can actually get the data from the URL, and we can give it, and we can assign it to an variable of that data which we want. So in this case it is int, but it will fetch the data from the URL with only one condition, that we need to mention parenthesis in the get mapping URL followed by the variable which we are actually giving, which is id. So with these we can able to get the data from the URL. So let's try to create a method in the service class, and now we will return repository dot. So does we have an pre-built method to actually get the data that which we are looking for? Yes, of course we do have. And that method is repository dot find by id, and we need to pass this id parameter into this method, and then dot get. So basically what this find by id will do is it will actually try to fetch the data from the database for only particular id that which we are sending for, and then we have the dot get right here. So this what this get is responsible for is, so let's say we have only 2 tasks in the database currently, but when I send a request to get the task of third or fourth id, will the database contains the data in the database? No, right? Then that time we will get a null output, right? So to handle that, we actually telling this JPA get the data only if the id is present in the database. So with this we are actually getting the data that which we are looking for. Now let's try to rerun the application, and Let's wait for few seconds. Yeah, application has started. Now go to the Postman and I will try to send the request. See, we got the correct output that which we are looking for. And when I say for the task 1, I need the data, it will actually give me that data for the task 1 only. So that's great, right? That's really awesome. But do you think the data which I have entered in the database needs to be corrected? Then how can I do that? Like, let's say I want to actually edit the title of these data, or let's say like I want to actually need to modify the description of this data, or I want to change the status as well. Like, is it even possible to update the data from the database? Of course we can do it. So that's where, right, we are performing all this collaboration. So let's go to the application and let's actually go to the controller class and let's try to create a method public. Let's say the type string, and I am actually updating the task, and here I am passing the parameter to do task, and I am returning not to do task, to do service dot update task, and I am passing this to do task inside this method. And to actually update this data, we need to pass at the rate put mapping on top of this method, and I am passing the URL as slash task. And when we want to actually edit the particular task, we actually need a particular ID of the task, right? So for that, I'm just trying to pass the ID of the task as well here, and let's say open parenthesis and ID is not SD, and let's type at the rate path variable and followed by int ID, and here I also need to pass at the rate request body as we're getting the data from the user, and let's pass this ID one of the parameter in this method, and let's create the method inside the service class. So now, like, firstly we will try to fetch the task from the database. Like, we will check whether the task is exist in the database or not. So for that, let's type to do task. I'm naming the variable name as to do task 1, and we have this get task by ID method, right? So let's call it and let's pass the ID into the method, and we will try to actually type if the to do task 1 not equal to null. And let's say if the to do task is not null, we're actually trying to update these data, right? So let's say to do task dot set title of to do task dot get title, and here in the same way, like to do task 1 dot set description of to do task dot get description. To do task 1 dot set status is equal to, like, not is equal to set status of to do task dot is status. So basically we are actually trying to update the existing data with the new data, right? So that's where I have written this code like this. Now let's try to save this new data. Let's type repository dot save to do task 1, and so by this we are actually updating that data in this table. And now let's return task is updated, and in the below I will be said that return no update is done. So yeah, my so yeah, everything looks good. Let's try to restart the application. Let's wait for some time. The application has started. Now let's open this Postman and let's try to, yeah, we will go to existing. So let's try to change this method to put, and let's select the body to raw, data type to JSON. Now let's try to copy this data and paste it here. Let's say I want to change the title. Now let's change this description. Let's say I need to prepare the PPT and also prepare for seminar. Let's try to change that status to true and let's send this request. See, the task is updated. So now we will go to the new tab and let's try to get the task 1. See, we got the data that which we have actually like updated now. So like we got the same output. So that's really awesome, right? But what if I actually want to delete this data? Like let's say I have completed all the task. Now I just want to like re-enter all these things freshly. So every time I don't want to update the data, right? So I need to delete some of the task as well. So how can I do that? So let's try to delete the task as well from the database. So let's go to the application and let's go to this controller class and let's create a method called public string delete think it should be small delete task and I'm passing a thread path variable int id and I'm just returning to do service dot delete task and I'm passing the id and and at the above let's type at the rate delete mapping and let's type the url slash task and open parenthesis and then id. So now let's create this delete task and let's try to find whether this task is existed in the database or not. So let's type to do task is equal to get task by id and type if the to do task not equal to null. Yeah, null. We are actually going to delete the data, right? So let's type repository dot delete to do task. So yeah, like we have deleting this task and let's return task is deleted successfully. Now let's return couldn't able to delete. So let's try to rerun the application and let's wait for a few seconds and the application has started. Let's go to Postman and let's try to change this method to delete and let's try to send the request. See, the task is deleted successfully. Let's go to this tab and let's try to remove this and let's send the request. See, we have deleted the first record actually. So let's go to the database and let's verify there as well. Let's try to run this command. See, we are able to see only homework task in this database. That's it. Like we have actually completed the backend of this to-do management task application. So we basically actually trying to add the task and we are actually fetch the data by id and we are actually able to update and even delete the data from the database as well, right? So that's really cool, right? Like we have built the application. So yeah, as this is a simple CRUD operation application, it looks like simple only, but when we are building a complex application, we actually need to know the relational mapping of these tables, and also we are actually need to manage the security, and even like we actually need to take care some configurations to even work our application to send the notifications, and there is lot of stuff. It is not yet over. So basically this is actually a very simple and basic applications for the learners who are trying to learn Spring Boot. So for them it is actually a simple one, but if you are an intermediate or if you are an expert in this Spring Boot, try to explore so many other things. Like we have Spring Security, we have Spring AI as well, we which is newly came into these Spring projects, and there is a lot of stuff actually. So let's try to explore all those things. And if you want a detailed application which you are actually looking for relational mapping, type just type in the comments as Spring Boot relational mapping, and I will try to make a series of videos on that application as well. Like how can we handle these relational mappings of the tables, and also how can we secure the application. Like I will try to create those series for you. So yeah, that's it guys. That's it for this series. And I will connect you all with the next series. So until then, please like this video, share with your friends, and do subscribe to this channel.